Hey everybody, Logan Burchett here, and I wanted to shoot a video talking about fundraising and specifically if you should fundraise as an entrepreneur. I've gotten a lot of people ask me, should I fundraise for my business? There's a variety of reasons why it may make sense to fundraise for your business, and there are a lot of reasons why it may not make sense to fundraise for your business. So I wanted to make a video outlining some of the reasons that you may choose not to fundraise. If you do choose to fundraise, please be sure to check out my other video. I'll put a link to that video in the description. It walks through the entire process of executing a fundraise. But for this video, I just want to go ahead and dive right in and start covering some of the reasons that you may choose not to fundraise. The first reason that you may choose not to fundraise for your business is that you really have no need to fundraise. By this, I mean you can generate sufficient cash through the operations of the business to skip the fundraise altogether. You can do things like, if you're pre-launch, for example, one popular way to generate cash to fund the business is to do pre-sales. For my business, Forecaster, we of course raised money from angels and capitalized the business in that way, but we also pre-sold annual subscriptions to our platform. So that was a way to generate cash for the business so that we could reduce our burn and extend our runway. For a lot of businesses, you can pre-sell enough, even if you're pre-launch, to fund the entire operations of the business to get you to where you can generate cash operationally, therefore completely eliminating the need for a fundraise. If you are a business that has been up and running for a little while, perhaps you're already cash flow positive. You're default alive, so to speak, meaning that if you don't raise any money or anything like that, then you are going to continue to survive through just the operations of the business alone. People like this, they may think that it is a good idea to raise money because if they raise money, then they can dump more money into sales and marketing. They can perhaps build a product out more. And while all of that may be true, it still may not be the right call for that particular person. It really all comes down to your situation and the plans that you have for your business. The second reason that you may choose not to raise capital for your company is because of risk aversion. Whenever you raise money from investors, for better or for worse, those investors are going to have expectations on the outcome of that investment. So for example, if you raise $1 million on a $4 million pre-money valuation, then you've essentially given up 20% of your business because that's 1 million divided by the 5 million. And investors, depending on the types of investor, they may be searching for a 10x, 20x return on their investment, which means that you're going to have to sell that company for $50 million or more in order to make that investor happy, to make everybody happy that's invested. Again, this is situationally dependent on the investor. There are plenty of investors out there that have much lower expectations whenever it comes to realizing their investment. There are a lot of people out there that recognize that a lower exit value a lot of times translates to lower risk for their investment. If you're not dumping a ton of gas on the fire trying to grow as fast as possible, then you're probably generating less risk for that investment. So there are a lot of investors out there that are totally cool with you not trying to be that billion-dollar company, that next Facebook, that next Google, but you just need to make sure that communication's clear, that that is the type of investor that you're getting into bed with. Again though, regardless of the investor type, people are going to have expectations for their investment. Are they expecting a dividend? Are they expecting for you to grow and sell either at a very, very large valuation or perhaps a more reasonable valuation? Are they expecting to get a percentage of the cash flow of the company? Just try to set expectations and make sure that everybody is comfortable with what they're expecting. Either way though, as soon as you raise money, you're not the sole owner of the business. So that is something to be cognizant of, something to be very, very comfortable with. You need to make sure that you are okay mentally with giving up a part of your business. This is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, but it's something that you're going to have to get over if you're going to be raising money. And if you're not okay with that, if it's something that you're not cool with, that alone could be a reason not to raise money. There's of course other risks that I may make another video getting into in more detail. Things like giving up board seats, having bad investors that can kind of hamstring the company, that can really create a lot of issues with founders. I've talked to a lot of founders that have really, really bad investor stories. I've talked to other founders, including myself, and we have really great investors. Our investors are hands off, but they help whenever we need them to help, and it's a really good relationship. So you can have those, but then you can also have really bad relationships. I don't think that that's necessarily a reason why you shouldn't raise capital. I think that that's a reason that you should vet your investors very, very thoroughly and make sure that they're really good investors, but it is something to be aware of. And if you're very, very risk averse, then that may be a reason why not to raise capital. The third reason that you may choose not to raise capital is just because of the business itself. Perhaps it's not a business that lends itself to raising money. So maybe you have a business where you believe that the largest that the company could possibly grow to is maybe $1 million to $2 million a year in revenue. And that may be a really great business for you. That could generate plenty of money for you to live a very comfortable salary off of. It could generate plenty of cash to pay your employees, and it may be a really nice business. But that may not be the business to raise money into because, again, investors may want that 10x, 20x return on their investment, which is going to be really hard for you to deliver on if your total addressable market is really, really small. That's why a lot of investors are really focused on total addressable market, trying to figure out how the founders are going to be able to address that market. And if you just have a very small addressable market, if you have a smaller niche product that's going to be harder to grow into that massive company, then it's going to be challenging to raise money into, and it's going to put a lot of undue pressure on you as a founder because you're forced to try to grow this company into something much, much bigger, even though you know that the potential of it's perhaps much smaller. So if you have a smaller company, or perhaps you just have smaller ambitions for the company, then that may be a reason why not to do it. A lot of founders are completely comfortable with the prospect of growing a company to making $3 million, $4 million a year in revenue with positive cash flow, and that's the total aspiration that they have for the business. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And if you can find an investor that's cool with that and they like that approach, then by all means raise money from that investor. But again, it may be something where in that particular scenario, it doesn't make sense, and it just makes sense for you to have that smoother path up into that mid-sized business, that smaller to mid-sized business, and just have more of a lifestyle company. So those are the three biggest reasons that I came up with. You'll notice that one reason that I left off of here intentionally was giving up equity. And that is a concern for a lot of founders, especially a lot of founders that have never raised money before. They don't want to give up equity of the company. The specific aspect of giving up a piece of the pie at the end of the day whenever it comes to sell. I address that in the form of losing control, but here I'm addressing the actual paycheck that you could get at the end of the day. This is, again, another thing that I may make a video on later on, but I just want to quickly address that if you can increase the enterprise value of the company for yourself as a founder, then it may be a reason for you to raise money. So I'll give you a quick example here. Let's say that if you have a company and you alone can get it to $1 million in value, or you can sell, in this case, I'll say 50% of the company and grow it to $10 million in value. In that second scenario, you have 50% of a $10 million company, which means that you own essentially $5 million of that company. That's 5 times the value of what the company would have otherwise been if you just grew it yourself, which is that 1 million. So long as you can increase the value of the company for yourself, then you should raise money, assuming that you're okay with everything else that I stated on this list. And I'll throw in that old adage, 1% of IBM is better than 100% of a lemonade stand. And I'll cap off this video by saying, if you're at all hesitant about raising money, make sure that you've weighed all of the pros and cons before you jump in. It's not something that you should jump into haphazardly. And if you think that you can't handle the personal risk, or you can't handle the thought of giving up a piece of your company, or perhaps you're just not sure if your business is big enough to warrant raising money, make sure that you're completely comfortable with all of those things before you jump in and decide you want to raise money. Again, if you do choose to raise money, please check out my other video where I go through the entire process step by step and outline higher level strategy. I'll put a link to that video in the description of this video. And again, if you need additional help just thinking through, should I raise money, should I not raise money, please reach out to me. At Forecaster, we talk to founders all the time. We help advise them on whether they should raise money, whether they should not raise money, and we're very candid about it. If we don't think that you should raise money, we'll tell you. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, please share, hit the thumbs up button, and I appreciate all of you guys.